Jamie Lynn, good to see you. Welcome to Popternative.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
You know, it's really exciting because it's already been 4 seasons of Sweet Magnolias on Netflix. And I'm wondering because, it might change, depending on the season, but that script to screen journey is really interesting, right? Like you get these scripts, then you see it come to life on screen. What's that like for you with a show like Sweet Magnolias specifically?
Well, it's interesting because with us, when we shoot, we get our scripts in like 2 week or 2 episode increments.
Yeah.
So it's somewhat nice because you get the first two scripts and you kind of read them and you're like, okay, this is obviously the arc of where my character is going, but you don't really know, which is, as an actress, I somewhat like that because it leads me to kind of handle the emotions in more real time. And when you're doing it that way, you're excited too, because you're like, oh my gosh, it's like waiting for like a new episode to come out, but
Yeah.
you're waiting for those scripts to come out. And you get the table read that you do for every two scripts, and that kind of gives you a little bit of a sense of what's happening. But you're living it as we're shooting it. We're somewhat living it in real time.
Yeah, and sometimes, certain episodes have bigger cliffhangers than others. And they
Oh,
have to wait a
just
long time.
wait. Just wait. This one, I know, like, at least y'all get all 10 episodes at once. Like, when you're reading these scripts, and especially this season, when you're reading 2 episodes, you're like, oh my gosh, what is going to happen? Because this show is just really, this season is just really, it's got some big moments.
Oh, absolutely. And it's interesting too, because, so much happens before you officially go to camera in a new season of
Yes.
Sweet Magnolias, right? So there's like a lot of kind of those conversations with Cheryl, the showrunner, and like the cast and the crew and everything. So from an acting storyteller perspective, Jamie Lynn, you can see there's 2 journeys, right? Before filming Sweet Magnolias and after filming Sweet Magnolias, or does it feel like one big journey with multiple steps in between? I'm curious about that.
Well, it's different too because like when I was growing up, we used to shoot, you knew how many seasons you're going to have, you knew your episodes, you kind of had a quicker turnaround. With this, we have a lot more downtime in between. Whether we've gone through a pandemic, we've gone through 2 strikes, we've gone through a lot of different things. So I feel like there's been a lot of time in between seasons for us and for the audience to experience them as well. So you grow as a person, your life changes, and then you have to come back to these characters and pick up where you left off with them. There has been some time elapsed in this storyline this season, but for the first 3 seasons, it was pretty much like picking up where you left off.
Yeah.
So for me, it's kind of like bringing myself back to who Noreen is, even though I might have grown a lot in a year. For her, it's only been a month.
Yeah. Oh, it's interesting. There's so many shows too where it's like, I remember like shows like 24 and everything where it's like, it's supposed to be like one day and it's like you're watching it. It's so crazy to think about.
It's really crazy because you're like, oh, I've had like a baby since the last time, but okay.
Yeah.
Nothing's happened. Nothing's changed.
Well, it's interesting too, right? Because, Noreen has an incredible like arc and has grown so much since the first season. But like, and you do such a great job, Jamie Lynn, with that character.
Thank
I just
you.
want to say.
Thank you.
Besides Noreen, because the obvious answer is Noreen, but like, is there other arcs in season 4 that you really enjoy? Other characters that maybe we didn't see that side of them in previous seasons that we see in season 4 specifically?
I think season 4 is a big season for everyone, but for Isaac specifically, and Chris just does. I love Chris. He is like just the best scene partner to have, but he has a really great arc this season, and a lot of growth happens for his character, but also for our relationship. But his whole arc this season, he did some beautiful work, and I just love the story of how his life has kind of changed throughout the seasons. He was just this young kid who came to town, and I feel like he's really grown into who he is this season.
Absolutely. The self-reflection is crazy too, right? Because it like, what do you think about that, playing those characters doing self-reflection? Because from the viewer perspective, like they don't know they're lost, which I find is interesting too.
Yeah, I think for me, like especially with Noreen, there was a lot of things that I identified with her, and having the perspective of kind of like what other people see and what you're feeling is really unique, especially Noreen being in a very different situation. She was a mistress who was pregnant. It was not necessarily a pregnancy that was like, wow, we're so excited. You've been waiting to get pregnant. And with me, I got pregnant at 16. So it wasn't like everybody was like joyous about it. It was quite the opposite. So I think when you get to have some perspective and self-reflection is like what you're really experiencing, and then getting to kind of relive that, it's almost like therapy for me. It's like being able to take parts of this character that heal you. And that's been my favorite part about Noreen, is kind of giving her some grace and some empathy. And I think that that's really been a big part of my growth as a character and as a person.
Absolutely. No, it's very well said. And it's interesting because The thing that doesn't change about Sweet Magnolias is the fact that family and friendship is the focal point of the show. That is like what it is down the middle.
Yes.
And then, but the show does a really good job. And I think this is just a credit to Cheryl and the writers and everything, but it sprinkles other things. There's heartbreak. There's really funny moments, right? There's suspense at times too. And the cliffhangers, right? And I'm wondering, with everything I just said, given that it is family and friendship first, what are other elements that really stand out for you specifically on someone working on the show specifically, like I just mentioned? Like, is there other elements that you like the most that are sprinkled throughout seasons?
I think what's really, like you mentioned, what's really cool about the show is it is about family, and it does cover, like, there's such a big cast, really.
Yeah.
You're getting someone in the audience can identify with something that one of these characters are going through. They're all from different walks of life, all different ages, which I think is really cool. And I love the fact that we're getting to tell it's not just like a teenager show, and it's not just like your parent show. There's kind of these two storylines going on between the parents and the kids. And I think in life, that's true. It's not like the kids are the center stage or the parents are the center stage. You're simultaneously living through this life together. And I love that we're really getting to see that and then see them collide at times. So for me, I just think that's been really cool. It's not just about, the family as just the unit. It's also about the family outside of there, the young ones and the old ones, and how they all intersect. So I think that's a really cool perspective, because that's how life is. It's not just a show about, what a lot of shows are, which I love, true crime, all these shows, like there's all these other, like, fights going on. This is like more like real life experience and what you would assume you maybe would go through, the good and the bad. So for me, I think that's why people identify with it. And, I just love that aspect of the show.
Those true crime podcasts are crazy. I agree.
Oh my gosh, no. It's like, I really am like, they're at an all-time high right now, and there are some great ones.
Oh, absolutely. It's interesting too, because, I remember when they announced that Sweet Magnolias was going to be a show on Netflix, even before cast or anything, because they're based on books, right? People were saying, like, the books are packed. Like, it's not just a family show. There's a lot in the book. So people were really excited to see that translate into the show it is now, which is really cool.
Yeah. And I know that we have, like, kind of veered off from the books.
Exactly.
Like, my character was only supposed to be a one-season character. I was a blessing to get this part. It was originally going to be a local hire, and I went in for a different meeting with Netflix and then ended up reading for this part, got it, and then I was able to continue on further into the other seasons. And for me, it's just been the best gift I've ever been given in this business.
Oh, absolutely. And, February 6th, in 2 days, new episodes are dropping worldwide. And my last question before we wrap up is, it's interesting, right? Because we establish, you film a season of Sweet Magnolias, you wrap, you wait, and then at some point you get the call from your teams that it's dropping on Netflix worldwide, and then boom, it's out of your hands, right? That people can kind of watch it and everything. And every season, and more seasons than others, there's been crazy cliffhangers, right? Like, that you'd have to wait for the next season. So with that being said, Jamie Lynn, with the fact that this is a show where the audience is always talking about theories and figuring out what's next, I'm wondering, are you ever conscious of the audience member watching Sweet Magnolias while you're playing Noreen, while you're filming Sweet Magnolias, or does that kind of happen a little bit after you wrap specifically?
Well, after the first season, yes, you're very much aware. Like, at least I am. I'm not sure if that's the case for everyone. And we do have these conversations, even with Cheryl and stuff, like, oh my gosh, they really want this to happen, or they really want that to happen. And I'm a fan of the show too. There are characters that, like, I want to be together, or I want to see do this. So I think as an audience member, well, because I'm a fan of other shows, not just our show. So I know what that feels like. And I think it's important to take that into consideration when you're creating a show like this, because you want to give the audience what they want, but you also want to give them a story that is, not finished with a bow on the end, because we want to be able to keep telling these stories. So the cliffhangers are there, but they're always, I don't know. I feel like every episode's a cliffhanger this season. I'm going to be honest with you. You're like holding your breath for the first 6 episodes. You're like, what's happening? And then you kind of, it feels like it kind of mellows out. But I think it gives it, that's life. Sometimes you just end up in spaces where you don't know what's next. And you kind of got to wait and see how it all plays out. And it makes for good TV.
And did it start sinking in after like season 1, the global kind of impact of the show? Because it's the Netflix drop, right? Like, it drops instantly so quick all around the world. Like, it's a pretty crazy thing.
I think the time we're living in is just crazy, because it's and especially because when the season 1 came out, it was during the pandemic. We're doing all interviews kind of like this. This was invented, this kind of interview, the
Yes.
Zoom interview. It was during that time. So we're all kind of like, are people going to know this show's coming out? Like, what is going to happen? And I feel like because of that, it was a shock to everyone that it did so well. It was a great show. We knew it was a great show, but the way people really connected to it worldwide, it was a shock. And to me, I was just so thankful to be a part of it, but then to be able to get to continue to be a part of it and successfully tell these stories, it feels good to do something that people like and love and also enjoy doing it. So it's a win across the board.
That's amazing. I'm so happy for you. You did such an amazing
Thank
job
you.
with Noreen. And season 4 of Sweet Magnolias is dropping worldwide on Netflix February 6th, so they can check that out. Jamie Lynn, it was so great chatting with you. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It was nice to talk with you as well.
Nice to talk with you. There's an Instagram account. I think it's your name, right? If people want to keep up to date with everything.
Just my name, Jamie Lynn Spears. That's it.
There might or might not be BTS photos because everyone waits until the show drops, right?
Yeah, and I've been kind of trickling some of them out, but you have to be very careful because you don't want to be the one who like accidentally there's some like big secret revealed in the background of your photo.
There's been some on your Instagram. That's why I plugged it. Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm doing my best to follow the rules, but also to give a little bit of the behind the scenes stuff. But it can all come out.
Yeah, but that's why I
February
really
6th.
like my questions were really craft based when I started Popternative because I get excited about the making of things, like how that shot came to be and how that happened, right? That's what excited me, and I'm a filmmaker as well too, so it's like exciting.
Yeah, so you get it. It's like for me, I always think about that when I'm watching a movie or I'm watching something. Like I've just think about how did that come together? I can't imagine how this would happen. And I'm in the business, but that's the thing that's cool about film is you never know what someone's perspective was when they were making it. So I love that you ask these kind of questions. It's fun to talk about too.
Oh, absolutely. Again, thank you so much for your time and congratulations with season 4. Well, this has been Popternative, youtube.com/Popternative. Previous episodes, you can of course catch Jamie Lynn Spears as Noreen in season 4 of Sweet Magnolias, dropping worldwide on Netflix February 6th. Until next time, so Jamie Lynn and Petey Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.